All right. Well, welcome everyone to episode 10 of Talks with V. We are so happy that you all joined us this evening on Resurrection Sunday. I hope you all had an amazing weekend. So thank you so much for joining us for episode 10. And this evening we are talking about autoimmune disease and disorder. And this is a topic that is very dear to me. I know that there's a lot of people who are out there suffering from autoimmune disease or disorder, and or have family members or friends, loved ones that are battling with those autoimmune disease and disorder. And so I thought it would be very important for us to have this conversation and dig into the topic. And this evening we have four resilient women who are going to help us dive into this topic and get a better understanding about autoimmune disease and disorder. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and introduce the guests. And like I said, this is an important topic to me. I was diagnosed with lupus years ago, and it's been an interesting journey. And so I have some women who are going to be able to speak to these autoimmune disease and disorders. And so first we have Coach Anita, the autoimmune bully. And so I'd like to go ahead and give you a chance to introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about you and what it is that you do and how long you've been doing it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. That's first of all, I wanted to say thank you. This topic is super important, right? Because autoimmune is on a rise, and it's unbelievable, right? When I wasn't part of the community, I was just like, wow, I didn't know anything. And then when I became part of it, I just learned more. So thank you for having it. But I am Coach Anita Monique. I'm a certified and restorative health coach. I am also a vegan Dr. Terry Walls healthcare practitioner. And if anyone doesn't know who Dr. Terry Walls is, they should definitely look her up. She's amazing. But my most important title is the autoimmune bully because I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2016. And it's unbelievable. It's 6 years now, right? I have never taken a pharmaceutical drug. So I'm here to people be the best versions of themselves. And I cannot wait until we have this conversation.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, and next we have She's Got Lupus, Rosadella. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening. I want to take this time for you to introduce yourself and tell us what you do and how long you've been doing it.
Well, thank you. And I'm blessed to be here and speak with you guys. So thank you again for this opportunity. My name is Rosadella. I'm in San Diego. I was diagnosed with lupus about 15 years ago. I was in my early 20s, but I actually grew up with my uncle having lupus. And so that was my first experience, was watching a family member struggle with it, and especially a male in having lupus. Maybe I think he was like 30-40 years ago, so just didn't have access to the medications that are currently available. So my firsthand experience was seeing him, and that I think is what started my passion of trying to help others with lupus, and then me being diagnosed and going through my own battles with it. So about 2 years ago, I formed She's Got Lupus. A year ago, I made it official nonprofit. And my goal is just to empower others, not just with lupus, but with other chronic and autoimmune diseases. Just to know that, your life is going to change, but it's not over. And we are capable.
Definitely, yes. And I know from listening to a video, one of your events, there was a guy on there and he was just saying that, he had lupus, but it's a small percentage for males, correct? It's more prominent in women.
Correct. Yes. So for lupus, it's predominantly, like when they tell you, it's predominantly a female have it. 1 in 250 African American women will develop lupus, but as far as men, it's probably 1 in 10. So just
Wow.
imagine, my it was I believe the video you're talking about. We were at a basketball game, and it
Uh-huh.
was Emmett. He has male lupus warriors, but yes, it's very small and uncommon. The amount of men who have lupus, so it's really, and it hits them harder. Their
Mm.
symptoms are actually stronger. They experience harsher, symptoms. I believe, I'm can't speak for Emmett's story, but for my own uncle, he had a stroke which left him paralyzed. So when I
Mm.
received my diagnosis, I was terrified because that's all I knew of lupus. So I was terrified when I was diagnosed. You didn't 15 years ago, you didn't hear about it as commonly as you may now. So that's another thing that I love to
Wow.
do, is I love to advocate and speak about it so that others in their own journey, when they're first diagnosed, they don't have that fear of, like, what's going to happen, am I going to die from this? It's more of, giving them their power back.
Yes,
Mm.
I love
Right.
that.
Yes, I love it too. Thank you so much for sharing that. And next we
Thank
have
you.
Terrell. Terrell, tell us a little bit more about what it is that you do and how long you've been doing it.
Um, well,
Serving.
I'm Coach T, Coach Terrell, Coach with the red glasses. A lot of people know that I love my glasses, so each time they see
Yes.
me, I have something new going on. So, but my story is interesting because I am a certified integrative nutritional coach. I'm also a blood type health management coach. So a lot of stuff I work with is with women in reference to their blood type and helping them overcome
Right.
a lot of this with the autoimmune and weight issues. But my story is like 30 years ago. You're talking about 15, girl. I'm talking about 30 years ago when they had no idea what the heck
Mm.
lupus was. And I was a guinea pig, unfortunately. And I'm sure we're going to get into some of the topics with that later. But all I remember is that when that happened to me, saying to the
Mhm.
doctor, am I going to die? Just let me know and I'll start writing up the will and
Mm.
figuring out stuff for my husband and stuff like this because I was like,
Right.
I had no clue. And doctor's like, well, if you listen to me, you won't die. It's just a chronic condition, and we can figure this out. But like
Wow.
Rosalie said, it's definitely predominant in African American women, and then it's
Mhm.
Hispanic women, and I believe it's probably Asian, and then last Caucasian women that are dealing with lupus, and it's just for me, I had to deal with a lot of pain and debilitating situations that caused me to gain weight. And that's the
Mhm.
reason why I kind of got on this journey with regard to health and finding solutions for myself to lose
Right.
the weight and get my lupus in remission. So it's been in remission since 2008. And I've kept my 100 pounds off for the last 10 years. So I'm
Mm.
on this crusade to as many women as I can touch and help and in the community to get their life back. And just like we've been saying, take their pride back and advocate for them to know that they can live a healthy life still having this particular condition. Lupus doesn't
Yeah.
make who you are. MS doesn't make who you are. We are beings. We are lovely women. We strive for excellence. We strive for, things that we can do and impact. And that's what we're here to do for you today. And thank you so much for having this conversation because I don't think we
Mhm.
talk about it enough. So
We do.
thanks
We do.
for having us here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And last but not least, Dr. Jones. This is actually my home doctor. So I'm so happy to have her here with us today. Um, and so, Dr. Jones, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you have been practicing? Uh-oh.
Okay. She's probably having some tech issues.
Oh, wow. Well,
Oh, we can't hear her.
Yeah, we can't
um,
hear.
Does she have earplugs on?
I got a
Okay. She's having some
Uh,
issues, Dell. So, okay.
I had a scholarship to Oxford. Can anybody hear me?
Okay, we were hearing you, but then it went out.
Let's see. Oh, okay. I don't have mute on.
Okay, go ahead. We can hear you now.
I'm gonna hit. You can hear me? Okay. Wow. Okay, let's try it again. I'm retired and I worked for 30 years in medicine. I went to UC Berkeley undergraduate and UC background noise. I do want to say that we can't have any conversations about health and people of color without framing is and you feel like that stand here. That's always the question people come to, and I'll go with them like I'm family and sit and listen and do a lot of translation, English to English. We have the poorest ratings. And so it is not because we don't have red blood like everyone else, like we can't system. Unfortunately, I don't want to bash it, but it's the truth. It's not it's not
Okay.
trustworthy at this time. So as
Dr.
we
Jones,
on
can you hear? Hey, can you hear me? Uh-oh.
As clients and patients and
It sounds like we were having some issues. It's a little choppy. If you can maybe switch locations and come back on, because it sounded like you were giving us some valuable information, and I don't want the audience to miss it. So maybe moving to where you have better connection.
So let's see. You tell me. Can you hear me? I hate to sound like a commercial. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Right
well,
then
then I'm gonna get. Okay.
Go
I'm
with
gonna
the
stay in
words.
this. I'm gonna stay in this room.
Okay.
And I'm so sorry. I don't want to use your valuable time. Can you tell me what you last heard?
Honestly, a lot of it was just choppy. So you can just go back to the beginning if you like.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'll try to do a condensed version. So I was saying that I've retired. I was practicing for 30 years and internal medicine. I can't get this camera thing right. Okay. And I specialized in internal medicine and then got a second board certification in palliative care. I've had a scholarship to Oxford, and I want to put that aside. In practicing, we can't have these kind of discussions about anything that has to do with health and people of color without remembering that, in fact, well established and documented is that we have the poorest scores on all the health disease indicators. And that is no coincidence. And we all have red blood, so that's not the problem. We have common sense, that's not the problem. It turns out it's not related to income or money across the board. If you're a professional, if you have healthcare insurance, it doesn't go with that either. It is because we have an untrustworthy healthcare system. And I'm not here to bash it. I'm just saying the facts of where we're starting this. So talks like this are not just interesting or convenient, they're critical, because how can we backfill something that's not our problem? So we keep working on our end of the deal, but when we get to root cause, it's other people that need to do that and other doctors that need to hold each other accountable. And so that's no mystery. But yes, when we are better educated, had been doing something at my church called Sister in the Gap, where I would just go plain clothes undercover and just be or whatever and listen and translate. I think what they're saying is this. Did you understand what they said? I think you ought to do this next. I understand. You should be upset about that. I understand. But today I need you to be the loving, supportive sister. And we'll keep that in mind. And yes, I know you know somebody that works there, but this is not time to carry the big stick, because they have your baby, they have your person, they have your loved one, and they have the information we want. Let me tell you how you get it. And it doesn't take loss of your dignity or compromise, because I know some of the workings in there. There is an ethics committee that you can call and don't need the doctor or a nurse to be referred to. We'll go on and straighten out if you have a conflict of values. Just a phone call. It has no cost to it. But how would you know? So when we get back in corners, I can kind of help with the little strategy to get the best care for your loved one, not for, anything else. The other thing is, let's get closer to the autoimmune thing. And yes, that affects our people more. So I might have more of a sensitivity for looking for that, and other folks might not. We all learned in school, yes, yes, yes. But I have a higher degree of why not you? And that's more the question with lupus, because lupus has 11 criteria. Well, can you remember 11 things? That's how sneaky, devious, hidden it is. You can't point to one part of your body and say that's where the lupus is. It is a subtle, systemic condition. So that makes it really covert. Anyway, I'm very passionate about healthcare for our people and helping them work in a whole nother world. That system is a whole nother world. And we do come at it correctly and do the right thing. That does not mean there's reciprocity. And let me tell you why. It's not that people are overtly racist. It's that they consciously water down the care plan. I've seen it. I've hired probably 30 doctors in my lifetime, been on that end of the system, and watching them come and watching them go and watching them work. What happens is you will come in, you will get profiled, promise you. Because I had my first baby and they asked me for my Medi-Cal card, and I actually looked for it because I was so nervous about it. I said, well, I'm not on Medi-Cal. There's no shame to that. My point is somebody else has written my narrative. So when you go in, that what happens. And then out of love and concern, another person, not of your race, will say, oh, well, she probably won't understand this, so I won't discuss this. These are the private things that go on in their head. Or she probably can't afford this medicine, so I'll recommend that one. And see, it's the power in the pen of what we write next. And these things are feeding into it. Or she won't understand the disease process, so I'm not going to break it down to her scientifically. I'm sorry, we're all human. Somebody broke it down to you. Maybe you can't teach. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's the problem.
Well, Dr. Jones, I have a question, because we are kind of going into what the auto, what but what autoimmune disease and disorders mean. And so before we go there, I just wanted to state that, how, like you stated, how important our health journey is. And on this show, we've talked about mental health, and we've talked about healthy relationships, but we hadn't talked about physical health and how it impacts us and the family. And so I always like to give the definition. So I'm just going to pull that up here. And then I would like you to break it down, because I think that it's kind of generic, right? And so someone may be like, what does that mean? So what is autoimmune disease? It says a disease in which the body's immune system attacks healthy cells. Right. And then it breaks down the difference between the disease and disorder. And it states that a disease is distinct and measurable. So just like you spoke about with lupus, how it's 11 markers, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was at the doctor's office, the rheumatologist, and she stated, well, there's 11 markers and you have to have 7 out of the 11 markers. She's like, you have 4. So basically you're going to get it. You just don't have it now. We can't diagnose you, but you're going to get it. And so I was just like, okay, I didn't really like that, because it's just like, what are you're telling me that I'm going to get something that's inevitable, but you don't have enough information, or enough traits to diagnose. And that's what it says. A disorder is basically saying that a disorder might indicate that specific disease is possible, present, right? But there's not enough clinical evidence to diagnose you. And so that's where I was at, at that point.
We can unpack that.
Yes.
Well, first of all, when you start with the whole thing of talking to somebody in your own medical lingo, we call it medical literacy. When you first say immune, you really need to unpack that. So let's start real basic with food that you know about. It comes in carbohydrates like bread and rice. It comes in protein like meat and beans. It comes in fat, and we all know what that chewy, delicious part is. So a protein, after you eat protein, will get broken down into smaller chemicals in your body that are made out of protein. Okay. You got hair, and you have other protein that's liquid inside your blood running around, and they have different jobs. Everything has a job. You got, let's go back to the fat and your spongy brain, and we know where other fat is in our body. And you have protein that can be in your blood, and they're busy protecting you. They're sitting down now, and healthy people standing down like the military. What do you call the ones who've got active duty, and you've got people in the reserves? So right now, ours are kind of in the reserves. And all of a sudden, you prick yourself with a pin, you get pain, blood comes out, you might get some pus later if it gets infected, because see, now these things have been put on alert, and they're going to the site and they're handling their business.
Right.
And they are there to attack outside threats. However, here we come with lupus, which is an autoimmune disease, like an automatic car. You do it yourself. This is self-immunity. You're allergic to yourself. Now, I'm exaggerating that and making it an analogy with words, and you're not allergic, but that's the closest I can get to the concept. And so what does that look like? Do you itch and swell like you're allergic to a bee sting? No, it looks weird as it sounds. And these are rare conditions. And so you can have bald spots that are not explainable. You can have some kidney damage, but how would you know? You can have photosensitivity, which means the sun, I tolerate and go out. You can't stand it. You get a red blush on your face. That butterfly rash is one of our classic features. So we try to stick to the things that are unusual. You can get really tired, but who doesn't? Could be stress, could be your relationship, could be your job. But that one, the fatigue, is real and palpable.
And you know what, Dr. Jones, when I got that and I didn't know what was going on, I was like, oh, it's like I got this built-in blush going on.
You don't have to wear anything. But how would you know? Because does it hurt? I'm telling you, sisters ain't going in. We don't have the time. We don't have the energy, because we're doing and being so much else in our life and other people's, that I'm not going in for a mild blush. You have to be, disable me and then I'm going in,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So
Mm.
some of that sister strong black woman thing can be detrimental because I can't get my girls to, come off the
Right.
reservation, come on in for a tune-up because I got real stuff to do. Dr. Doug, you gonna come home and clean my house? But
Yeah. I mean,
but
yeah, we got to
when
do
you're
it.
in your best state of health, that's really when somebody in prevention wants to see you. We're trying to cut you off from making that left turn. See, we like to come in, unfortunately, after I've had people call me my age. I can't walk. I don't. Well, you probably will not never walk because I need to intervene. I want to know about it before you know about it. And I have ways I
Yeah.
can do that by checking your blood and asking you questions. So the earlier, and this is what I have changed. My mother's 94. I have to tell her, Mom, when you go in, tell them if you have anything new, anything different.
Right.
Because they're used to, I have to go if I'm sick. I have to go if I'm in pain. See, late. Tell
Hmm.
anything
It's
new.
too
From
late.
the left side to the right side, anything new. This
Wow.
arm can't go up as high as the other one when I comb my hair. You need to go in. That's weakness. They think
Mm.
weakness is stroke weakness where you're paralyzed and can't move at all. So I just can't give every example. So I just say, anything new going on, anything different, you need to call. You don't have to call like it's emergency. And there's
Right.
always this fear that you're going to go in, somebody's going to find something, they're going to do something to you. Well, nobody can do anything to you. You have rights without your permission. So at
Right.
least find out what's available. At least
Right.
drive your car.
Mm.
So, I could get into that more, but why don't we go? We, a couple of big things. One is our faith base. People feel like they're
Mm.
betraying faith in their God if they choose medicine, like we got the nerve to come up against God. Oh, no, just
Mm.
some tools. All surgeons don't do well. You better pray for the surgeon.
Mm.
He
I
works in
do that
our
all the time.
he works in our arena too. So it can't, when it comes to that battle, you can see how that would keep somebody at home. I've seen people die behind that. Nope,
Mm.
That's
nope, I am not, unfaithful. I am not going to betray. I'm not, nope, because I have a healing coming. I had a
Mm.
transplant, stem cell transplant, and I know he and I went down the hall many times together because I got to ask him, help this person do that next thing correctly. And what does
Right.
this mean in my life and a lot of other things.
Okay.
So faith is one reason, but the other thing is that well-earned reputation of untrustworthiness that the healthcare has with our people. That's well
Mhm.
documented. I'm not going to go over all the old research and things and where we got the short end of the stick, then wanting to see what happens when you leave somebody with syphilis and not tell the family,
Mhm.
let them pass it to each other and not have the treatment that we knew was penicillin all the way into the 1970s and vote
Yeah.
on it as a scientific community and say, should we carry it on or should we stop? Let's carry it on. Well, they've
Well, with
already
that, without that approval, as well. So that you're right. I mean, that people were still discouraged of this day because they have that reservation or not trusting
oh
doctors,
yeah.
and we won't even get on the men, right now, about going to the doctor,
Oh no.
either. So, but I did want to go into our guest health journey,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
and I will come back to you because I wanted to ask you a few other questions, Dr. Jones. So we'll start with Coach Anita. Coach Anita, if you could share with us, I know that you all shared your stories on different platforms about your journey. If you could share with us about your journey, your particular journey, and how you advocate for others.
Okay, first I wanted to say that I love when she got lupus, said take your power back. I was like, yes, that is my whole motto. Absolutely. Like, I never want to discourage anyone, whether they go the herbal or pharmaceutical route, right? I just want you to take power back. So, back in my diagnosis, when I was diagnosed in 2016, I was afraid, right? I was afraid when doctors came in the room and say, you have multiple sclerosis. I literally watched my uncle lose his life to diabetes. So I was afraid, thinking, oh, you couldn't save my uncle from diabetes? Oh, there's no way. I got to figure this multiple sclerosis out myself, right? Because I don't feel as if the pharmaceutical company has my best interest at heart. I really felt like they were out for the money, right? If this medicine helps you, great. That's perfect. If not, you're still going to take it because that's what we need you to take. That's our number one drug for MS. So it was really scary for me, right? Even to this day, it's scary because multiple sclerosis is something, even though I have it under control, right? It's something that you're always thinking, oh, is it going to come out tomorrow? So you're always thinking. I definitely treat myself naturally, right? And I eat a clean diet, make sure I'm working out and doing all those things. But it's just something, and I wish I never had this in my mind, right? But it's like, am I making a mistake if I went the pharmaceutical route? And that is not fear for a diagnosis for anybody to be diagnosed, whether you're a woman of color or you're not, right? I literally had to think, wow, the people that I thought would have my best interests all the time really don't. It's all about the money, right? So that made me sad, right? So that's why I became a health coach, honestly, to save myself, right? Honestly, to save myself. And when I got in the program, I started learning things. I was like, why is this a secret? Why don't we know these things? Why don't we know what we put in our body can change our health, right? So then I decided, okay, I am going to stand up, especially for people of color, right? Because we are so accepting of any time that anybody diagnosed us with some things. Dr. Jones was talking and speaking about we're so resistant to go to the doctor's office until we actually have a symptom or we can feel the symptom that's really bad. And that's 100% true. 100% true. But we also are we listen to whatever someone else says, right? If someone says you have diabetes, it's like, oh my goodness, blindly following whatever that person tells you you have to do, right? And in some cases, that may be very good, right? That may be excellent. You may have an excellent doctor and they're going to tell you all the best things to be the best version of yourself. But in other cases, doctors could care less, right? They want a quota. They have to make a quota. Or maybe it's not that they could care less. Maybe they genuinely do care, but the laws behind them, like you got to tell this person ABC and you need to tell them this and that order, or we're going to take your license from you. So it was just all fearful. I just wanted to be, and I tell all my clients, I want you to be the best version of yourself. And I want you to take your power back, right? Because I knew how it felt when a doctor write down on that clipboard and they had that clipboard in their hand and they're like, you have this, and they walk out of the room and all your dignity, all your power, everything walks out of that room with you. And the only thing that stays with you is shame, especially when you're a Black woman. You're like, oh no, this is wrong with me, So that is why I stood up, because it's nothing wrong with us. Like we were talking about, it's nothing wrong at all. We just have to learn. And I love that has been the topic of tonight. Take your power back. That made me smile so hard. And that's my goal for everybody, to take their power back, because we got some. That's all.
Sorry, I was muted. No, I said I love that, and just the fact that you can, because there's some people who are out there just suffering in silence and have no clue of what, basically, that there are these options and that they can actually take their power back. So thank you so much for sharing that. And Terrell, Coach Terrell, tell us a little bit about your journey and how you advocate.
Okay. It's interesting. My girl, Anita, was talking about that, take your power back, because I've always been one of those too, but I remember my journey a little bit differently. When I found out, like I said, I was in total shock. I just couldn't believe it, because before I got the answer, I went to 4 different physicians and they thought I was crazy. And my husband was screaming and yelling at each office that we had. Thank God for that man, because I don't know if I would have had the wherewithal to keep going, because I was tired all the time. I had broke out in these boils on my ankles. My feet
Mm.
looked like the elephant lady. And I just couldn't put what was going on. And I remember the doctor that saw us after we were involved in a car accident. A truck hit the back of our car.
Mm.
And that's when everything started happening to me. And the doctor that saw us then was my husband's physician. He had said to me, he said, something is wrong with your blood, but I can't tell you what it is because I'm a gastro guy. You're going to have to go to some doctor. Something's wrong, Terrell. I can't place my finger on. He told me, okay, this guy told me. So I pushed it away. I was like, well, I'll be fine. I'll go to a chiropractor, da da da. He said, well, still look out. I don't know what it is, but still look out. So
Right.
months later, I started breaking out, like I said, and on my feet and swelling and all this. And I'm always
Mm.
tired. I thought it was my job because I was accountant at that time. And my husband says, no, something's wrong, honey. I think you need to go to the doctor. I said, yeah, I do too. Four different guys are telling me,
Mm.
all these men are saying you're crazy. And essentially they're saying, is it your backyard? Do you guys have dogs? Do you have fleas?
Mm.
I can't put what's going on. And I'm crying. I'm like, there is something wrong with me. You can't,
Mm.
you're a doctor. You're supposed to notice. We don't know what it is. So a friend of mine said, because by this time, I'm going months at doctors, months, the rash spreads all over my face. And
Mm.
now I'm freaking out because, hey, I'm young, I'm cute, I'm blah, blah, and then I got this rash on my face. So I'm getting
Right.
people in my office going, what's wrong with you? Why do you
Yeah.
have this red rash? And I'm like, I'm so embarrassed. So my friend of mine said, go to a dermatologist. Found this nice dermatologist, and he looks at me. I walk in the door. He looks at me, he says, I know what you got. And I'm like,
Mm.
you do? He's like, yes. He said, we're going to take a sample of your scalp. I'm going to send
Mm.
it to Mayo Clinic. And when
Oh,
it
wow.
comes back, it's going to tell me that you have systemic lupus. I freaked out. I was like, what is that? Tell me. And he broke it down. He was really nice about it. He told me what it is, what to expect, da da da. And he said, but this is what you have and this is what we have to deal with. Now, what's interesting is that my husband and I have been married now, what? It's going to be 33 years this year, okay? And for this man
Right.
to stick with me when I had no clue, we had no kids, and his previous girlfriend had lupus.
Wow.
Previous
It's
girlfriend
very, it's more common than we think.
is more common than you think, had
Mhm.
lupus. They weren't dating for like 3 or 4 years by the time we met. So I'm saying to myself, God, what's going on? His ex girlfriend had lupus. Now he got another one that he's married to that has lupus. What the heck? This man is going
Right.
to. I thought he's going to divorce me. I honestly felt he was going to divorce me. I was like, he's not going to handle this. He's not going to deal with another
Mm.
woman in his life like this. So, as
Mm.
they found out I had this condition, two things happened, and I hope this can help somebody. I had to get a kidney specialist because my kidneys were compromised. Most
Mm.
lupus just goes to kidneys. And then I get a rheumatologist, which I'm sure a lot of us have had experience with. The first thing they do is put you on medication. Now, I didn't know any better at the time, so I took the medicine. The medicine, prednisone, made my face good, and that's how I
Swell.
started gaining weight.
Mhm.
As a result of them giving me too much, because remember, 30 years ago, they have no clue. I'm a guinea pig. So for 9 months, I'm taking this high dosage of medicine.
Mm.
And what happens is that it deteriorates um, the cartilage
Yeah.
between my
Mhm.
joints. So I'm
Yeah.
already dealing with pain. I don't know if we're going to have children. And the kidney specialist, who's like 75 years old at that time, is telling me, well, don't have any children because we don't
Definitely.
know if you'll be able to carry them. And I'm like,
Mm.
what? We want a family. I said, you know what? God is the ultimate healer. I'm going to have faith in God and I'm
Yes.
not going to worry about what you're saying.
Mm.
So my rheumatologist, who's like my husband, because I had him for 24 years before he retired, he was really a good advocate for me. He said, listen, you have to find a way. I'm going to help you, but you're going to have to find a way. Once you get rid of the medicine, you guys go for getting pregnant. And then he said, after that, we're going to find other things to do so that you don't have to deal with this lupus. So I found out, I got rid of the medicine in 9 months, gained all this weight, got pregnant, had the baby. So natural birth, I had no issue with the birth. So that was a
Good.
miracle. They didn't believe that was going to happen. No issues with my birth. Um, and then as things happened, I started gaining more weight because now I'm in denial still, right? And I can't handle the fact that I have this condition and people are looking at me saying, "What's wrong with you when you're tired
Mm,
all the time?" See, it's not
yeah.
written on your head that you have lupus. It's not written on you have MS. It's not written on your head that you have RA or anything
Right.
alopecia, which I had alopecia. My hair fell out 3 times in my life, so thank God for what I have
Wow.
now.
Wow.
And then I had
And that
three.
is an autoimmune as
That's an
well. It's an
autoimmune.
autoimmune disease. People don't know.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've had 3 hip surgeries as a result
Mm,
of that medication. I had 4 medications, people, with the fact that my husband and I started our own journey researching, finding ways to start eliminating certain foods because we started reading, hey, certain things were right for me. So we
right.
started eliminating certain foods and putting in more vegetables, putting in more natural stuff for our bodies, right?
Right.
So that I can start healing. And eventually I figured it out. So by 2008, I went into remission because I started eating a lifestyle of healthy lifestyle and working out and started feeling my body back to what Terrell was about.
Mm,
So I would say in terms of advocating, that's how I started my journey with becoming a health coach. I started working for a big brand, a weight loss brand, worked with them for 8 years, helped
mm,
hundreds of people lose weight. And I decided I need to go a little bit further. They had their own
yeah.
ideology. I have my own. So I broke away and started my own with regard to blood type health. And more I worked on my health with my blood type and other people, I found the success rate was really, really good. It kept me in check. It kept me feeling good about myself and other people and my clients. And I just said, I'm going to keep going forward with it, which I'm doing now. So to let you know that you can conquer this, you can take your health back. When the doctor tells you you want to put you on medication, I'm not saying not to, but I'm saying research that drug because it has a
Mm,
lot of side effects.
right.
I had
Right.
4 medications. I'm down to one, which I'm working with this doctor now. I have a new one to get rid of that. Okay, but you can do this.
Yes.
You just need to focus and find people in your life that are going to support you because a lot of times relationships, my family did not. Oh gosh, I used to get jokes about what's the dough boy. They used to make fun of me like
Oh,
that.
Pillsbury Doughboy.
Yeah,
Oh,
because my cheeks was
you
like
swell
this.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
swell up, and oh yeah, your hair is girl. I can't even tell you, but people don't understand. They really don't
Right.
understand because you look the same to them, but inside your body's all screwed up and they
Right.
just don't have a clue and they're not as sensitive as you would like for them to be. But
Right.
educating them as much as possible. Oh, I can't eat that. I can't eat that, mom.
Right.
I can't
Right.
eat that. That's not good for me. And they
Mhm.
keep giving it to how that goes.
Right. Because they
You
think
know
it's
that.
gonna make you happy. And it's just like it's making me happy now, but
Yeah, but I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
feel the
pay
pain
for it
later.
tomorrow.
We all been there, right? So
Yeah.
now I'm an advocate, and actually I'm gonna be doing next month a big lupus fundraiser in Clubhouse. So if anybody's interested in that, let me know so that we can support more funds going into education and helping more people. Because besides the fact of having lupus, I have Sjogren's syndrome and I also have the sickle cell trait.
Mm,
So I got that going on too. So that's
yeah.
my life, girl.
And it's really interesting because I believe see a lot of those they're not I guess genetic or they can be genetic, right? But if both parents have like as far as lupus and passing it down from my understanding or what I learned is that if one parent has that and then the other parent doesn't have any other autoimmune disease, then the percentage to pass it down from mother to child or parent to child is less than 1%, I believe. But then if the other parent has any other type of autoimmune disease or disorder, it bumps it up to 50% chance that you'll pass some type of autoimmune disease down to your child. And that's crazy, right?
I
Because you're just
know.
like, it's like, why? There's times that I was just like, oh my, I have bad luck, but I'm like, no, we're not gonna say that and confess that over, our lives
That's
because it's
right.
not true. Sometimes things happen, but I also think that sometimes things happen to certain people because they are strong enough to be able to be an advocate or to bring awareness or to just be of support in some kind of way, in a big way. And so, I was trying to take that positive approach, but when it first happens, it is hard. And for me, I kept it a secret for a long time. And because it just felt like they're not going to, people won't understand. And still, I mean, the people who know, some people know, and they still don't understand because they forget, because nothing, it's not something that they have to like deal with on a regular. And when you just look cute or whatnot, you go out and you're looking cute like your normal self, they're just like, there's nothing wrong with you. Like
exactly.
it's just like,
there's nothing wrong with you.
Just because I don't want to look like how I feel doesn't mean there's not something else going on. And so that's another reason why I just think these kind of conversations are important to have more frequently. And so I was just getting ready to go to Rosadella. I guess we will, we'll come back to her when she comes back on.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to talk about what are some of the misconceptions about autoimmune disease. I kind of touched on it with the fact that look, together, or the way you always look, and people kind of just think, oh, there's nothing wrong with you. But Dr. Jones, if you can tell us, what are some of the misconceptions about autoimmune disease?
I have a few comment responses to some of the things that were already said, but I definitely want to answer your question. Okay. I think, let me get these little responses out, and then I'm going to do that because I can't juggle it all too well.
Okay, well, one moment.
Sure.
Rosadella's back. We're going to have her tell us about her journey and how she advocates, and then we'll go back into that, to that question, Dr. Jones.
Okay.
Rosadella?
Hi, sorry, I had to move because my Wi-Fi seems like it dropped off, but thank you.
No problem.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
So my advocacy journey, it actually began, like I said, my uncle had lupus, so I was familiar with it. But when I myself started experiencing symptoms, because of, I'm not sure if it was because of my age or just because of, I was working as a graphic designer, the doctors were dismissing it as carpal tunnel and so it took actually up to 2 years of me going back and forth with different doctors, just like Terrell, I believe, was saying, it took her multiple doctors. This was 2 years back and forth, and them giving me naproxen for like or Motrin, or maybe it's I had a 1-year-old or 2-year-old, I'm sorry, at the time, and it was just like I wasn't getting any answers. And it wasn't until I physically could not get out of the bed by myself where I'm like, no. And my uncle was the one who suggested, maybe you should specifically ask for them to test you for lupus. So with that is when the doctor gave me my official diagnosis. I believe it was 2007. And just like most of us, when we are, especially I was in my early 20s, you find out that you have a disease, and you're just kind of like in denial, and you don't want to accept it. So you continue, I can still go out and, I'm young, so I can still go to the club. And I don't know if this affects you guys, but when you're drinking, alcohol, staying out late, doing all the things that people your age are doing, you start seeing these symptoms get aggravated. And then my story is also different because I was in an abusive relationship that I ended up marrying. I got married to him, and the stress of that relationship weighed so heavy on me that my symptoms started coming back aggressively, where my face would just break out in hives, and not even just the butterfly rash, but my eye would swell up just because of the stress that I was enduring. And after I finally left that marriage, that's when my symptoms became just so bad. It was 2015. I was experiencing so many bad flare-ups back to back. I was unable to walk. I was unable to fend for myself. And prior to that, my family thought I was, being lazy, or, why aren't you up? Because on the outside, I looked perfectly fine. and they didn't understand that in my body was like literally fighting itself. You know, the autoimmune disease, it's your body attacking the healthy parts of your body. So it's nothing that someone can see from the outside. And
Right.
it wasn't until about 2015 when I started experiencing, you know, not being able to physically walk. I couldn't lift my arms up. My hair was falling out, and
Oh.
it was just that. And I was hospitalized probably every other month, if not every month. I had pneumonia like constantly. I had what is it, shingles, and that's
Oh.
commonly, most people think shingles is like
Yeah.
for senior citizens. That's what it's associated with, and I had it like 4 times, and these are
Wow.
things that was, and my rheumatologist now, he just, every year I just get my shingle shot, and it's something that you go to go ask, like at the pharmacy, they give the shingle shots. I went and I asked my pharmacist, I said, can I get the shingle shot? And she's like, oh honey, no, it's only 50 and older. And I'm like, what? Like, I don't think you guys understand, you know, there
Yeah.
are some people, and that's the problem, is that not everyone is educated on the autoimmune diseases, and they will affect you differently. And it's not, don't classify certain symptoms as only 50 and up, or only
Right.
white women, or only Black women. And it's just something that my experiences with being in a domestic violence situation, having lupus, experiencing the things that I've experienced with having to go to multiple doctors, these are all reasons that I said, you know what, somebody needs to stand up and speak about it. I live in San Diego. We do have the Lupus Foundation of Southern California, but we don't have many lupus awareness events. So I after my uncle passed in 2020, I said, why am I waiting for someone else to speak about it? Why am I waiting for other organizations? I said, I'm perfectly capable. And I started my foundation, and I have just been hitting the ground running. Like every chance I get, I speak about it. I wear my She's Got Lupus shirts. I wear lupus things. I try to speak about it and educate others, and not just about lupus, but autoimmune and mental health, because really,
It's all connected.
yes, exactly. Your mental health is going to affect your physical health, whether you have an autoimmune disease or not. So that's one of the biggest things that I think we all need to speak about more. And actually, next month it is Lupus Awareness Month. So I am doing in San Diego a local event for lupus, and I'm trying to incorporate self-care. You know, some of us ladies, even men, we like planting and something to ground us. And so my event next month I'm going to do, it's called Paint and Pot, where we're going to paint some little pots and plant little succulents, and just have, you know, nice conversation about lupus awareness,
That's
mental
beautiful.
health. Yeah, I did this last year, and it was great. Last year I did it in June, which is for us lupus warriors. You know, the summer is not kind to us.
Right.
So
Right. Especially in hot California. It's hot
You in
there.
California too, yep.
The dry
yes,
heat.
yes. Exactly. Like 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, we had a heat wave, and my face swelled up. I had the rash going. I was exhausted.
Oh, no.
And you know, I have 3 boys, so they're always like, "Mom, let's go, let's go." And I'm just like, I know you can't see it, but I am too exhausted to do certain things. Like, it's just, and that's the reality of things that we have to do every day. Like, we are lupus warriors. And that's why we're called lupus warriors, because we are fighting battles that, you know, no one can see on the outside looking in.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And so, Dr. Jones, I know I was asking you about
Mhm.
the misconceptions about
Mhm.
autoimmune disease, and I know you wanted to touch on a couple of things that you had heard. So I'll let you
Sure.
dive into
Well,
that.
I'm going to answer your question first.
Okay.
I've had a little time. I think one of the misconceptions is there's so many symptoms and they seem disconnected. You know,
Yeah.
you go sore throat, white spots, fever, well, strep. Everything else has an easy formula. You know, cough, fever, phlegm. You know, we
Mhm.
listen pneumonia. This is unfair. It seems like, what does me being bald have to do with my kidneys getting damaged and with the
Mhm.
butterfly rash on my face and my joints aching? So that's what makes it hard, because people will have those things isolated unless you're a physician and you're standing back and you go,
Right.
oh, I know, I recognize that package. It's very difficult. And most people have seen a psychiatrist before they get their diagnosis,
Mm.
because these things get hot and cold, and then you're there and they're like, no, really, last week this was like that. Show you
Yeah.
right. And so you have to believe in things you can't see. That's why internal medicine, I get it. I don't have to see a ouchie or a boo-boo. And like was said earlier, when you don't have those for people,
Yeah.
because what does sister say? Keep it moving. Do
Mhm.
other groups say that? No, that's what we do. And we're not going to go
Yeah.
to Dr. Look and Poke. And so when you go there, so this good thing we have about us kind of cancels us getting more benefit from where we go. Because
Right.
my doctor with my disease is rare amyloidosis that I got the stem cell transplant for. He wrote me up like doing good because, well, one, I'm supposed to be dead. So every time he sees me, I'm looking good.
Right.
Turns out disability you get automatically with cardiac amyloidosis, which is what I have. You don't have to say I'm tired. You don't even have to prove it. You don't have to do anything. It's like being double blind.
Mm.
I had the hardest time getting it because I kept showing up and showing, you don't look.
Yeah.
And so that is unfortunate. And it is sadder when it's
Mm.
people that know what you have. And then
Mm.
still, you're tired, you're lazy, you're trifling. But let me
It's
go
like,
on. So the disconnected things, but how they are connected
mhm.
is when you have self on self attack and that your army has turned around and it's facing you now. What it looks like is they'll go after some of the follicles in your hair root, woo woo woo, and
Mhm.
into your skin and at your
Mhm.
kidneys. And so, and it
Mhm.
has favorite places. It's not
Mhm.
something that we couldn't make the list. We can make the list because it is
Right.
a package. And so
Yeah.
it's not what you would think. Well, people ask me sometimes, am I being digested? Like Pac-Man or something. I'm like, no, no, but it is doing what it would do to a splinter, what it does to pneumonia, but
Mhm.
it's doing it to you. So I think that whole fragmented until you get it and have it and recognize it. See, because now you could walk to somebody in the street and you could say, hey, hey, hey. And so here's the other thing that I think for
Mm.
practitioners is difficult. When they see one thing, they won't put it with, it seems like too panicky and too premature. That rash, this person might have lupus, but I have to have a low threshold and tolerance to say, wait, I'm going to test you. Um, and I'm going to get back to that borderline group of people.
Mhm.
Also, being more susceptible, as was brought up, your immune system is kind of on the fritz. It's got this little tweaky thing wrong with it. So that
Mhm.
in general makes you more easy to get to for COVID, for other diseases. And so you have to get over extra protection, extra
Mhm.
vaccinations. When I had the amyloidosis, I had to take all vaccinations for life over. I mean, the one you get when
Wow.
you're 6 months old,
Mm.
all of those over again. Every
Oh, wow.
few months, I would get 4
Mm,
vaccinations
wow.
to catch up: polio, mumps, measles, rubella. And like you
Wow.
said, everybody else is getting their one pneumonia shot, got 5. So, but how would you know that? So I'll
Right.
tell people in a minute in the elevator, aunt had transplant taken up. Yeah. You have to do that for yourself. So being
Yeah.
susceptible in a group of people that we don't even have a word for femme fatale. We don't drop our hanky. Nobody's going to throw their coat down and walk on it. So we
Hmm.
don't know how to put on that act. But this
Mhm.
society understands that and they translate disease and how much you're suffering with that. And so
Right.
I don't want to say that's wrong. That's what we call dignity. But I'm saying in the healthcare system as it is now, where they're looking and profiling and, you don't look so this to me in this
Mhm.
system, that is not an attribute. That is a diagnosis delay. That is treatment ungiven and all that. Um, Back to a couple other things. When we say, oh, you had a few tests, but you didn't have the whole thing. So you kind of, and so I am a what? Well, that's when we begin to describe you as what you are. This is a positive ANA. That's one of our labs patient. And you need to
Mhm.
keep that on the roster. And unfortunately, for a lot of practitioners, because I did train in the residency too, they don't claim it and put it on your label because it's not a disease yet. But that's something that needs to be followed.
Yeah.
Periodically, you need to check that because it has a number. Is it getting up?
That's right.
Are you starting to get the
That's
other
right.
things? Do I need to look back at that 11 list? Well, if they don't put it down because they go like, oh, you didn't have lupus, it's not on your problem list. Somebody needs to be
Mm.
creative and find a definition, even if they just describe what you have, has some lupus symptoms, whatever. And if they don't, you have to remind them. And I hate to say, you might even have to say, is that on my problem list? And they might go back and say, well, it's not really a problem. So you don't have, well, can you just keep listing that I have those labs that were borderline? You call me,
Right.
I let them call you borderline lupus though, because that begins to show up in your insurance work and insurance, they don't care. It was like, she's lupus. We're not gonna.
Mm.
So make sure you watch out for words like borderline and then the real disease when you don't have it. Borderline diabetes. They're going to give you diabetes credit and go with whatever negative things go with that. Um,
Mm.
so you
Mm.
just are what you are, but call it something. The
Yeah.
chronic disease, I want to say, like people said, well, are you going to bite me today? So it's not really coming and going. You
Mm.
always have it. Is it going to be active today? Is it going to flare today? And what I'm going to say from doing chronic pain work, we used to tell people that's your new friend. You're going to go to bed with them, you're going to wake up, and it's like with lupus or anything.
Mhm.
I my chronic disease. You got to say, what are we going to do today? What can we do today? How you feeling? How you doing? You might as
Right.
well be friends with it, and you guys just work it out. What do you need today? And that's I hate to say it's a better, healthier instead of it's the enemy and it's trying to kill me, and we're gonna just fight and tussle. It's you. That's you now. Um, as far as money, just have a little story to tell. One of my adult sons, is not would not get COVID vaccinated, and he got COVID, of course. But this thing about, well, if somebody's making money off of it or off of me, then it's no good. We just have to let it go. Yes, we have things that are good for us, and yes, this is a capitalistic country, and some people are making money. But don't do the self deception because that deduction isn't quite as logical as you think. Because you making money, then that product is bad and I'm not going to use it. People will pimp what they will pimp. And sometimes they're pimping what you need. And I'm not saying to be pro medicine, because what we should be doing in the office is where you're booking. And we're like,
Mm.
well, you over here like that. And these are the things that could help, but is it worth it? Because this will cost that. You're not in a safe chair. My patients would talk
Mm.
to me like, I'm healthy, I'm good. What you trying to poison me with? I said, oh, no. You already got issues. So since you have issues, let's see if that can help your issues more than it can hurt you. And that's how
Mm.
we shop, and then we can decide together. And it's certainly using things that are more holistic or alternative medicine nowadays is less frowned on. But again, you don't have to choose all the time. You do want to make sure
Mm.
it's not one thing is not messing up your other program. But no, that day's, I hope, getting over.
That's
And
important.
here's my last thing, trying to talk fast. And my sisters, I hear them all and I agree with 90%. But and maybe that's just my kind of head. I know I thought, I don't know what I want to be. Maybe an astronaut, maybe a doctor. I'm thinking, and I hear you thinking that one sister said, I was capable. So why did I not go on and do this thing? You
I
are
know, I
capable
love it.
of power. People cannot take your power because they didn't give it to you. So don't
Mm,
try to get it back because you have it. The thing is authorizing the use of it,
mm,
knowing what to do with it, and finding that out. But you're sitting on your power. You got your power. And
mm,
so it's just recognizing yourself. Most of the time in practice, what I was doing really is a little science and a whole lot of remember who you are. Because
mm.
you get out there so much and people telling you who you are and you come back, I got to take people off work like, no, no, you are very bright. You are very this. And I don't have to stroke them up because it's true. It's
Yeah,
true. And it's
yeah.
just a matter of self permission, self recognition.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Jones. Well,
No
we have our last question that we want to go ahead and get into because we're getting a little past the time, but that's okay. So I wanted to, state that, I know that there's a lot of people out there struggling with autoimmune disease and disorder, and they may have difficulty expressing what's going on inside and expressing that they feel down or a little depressed or just defeated. Um, in what way, how can we help them? I mean, as how can we help ourselves, people like us to express what's going on inside, and also how can we express what we need from family members or people who are close to us? How can we empower them to feel confident to have that conversation?
Mm.
Yes, Coach Nita, we will have you go first.
I like what Dr. Jones was saying, right? That we have so much power within us,
Mm,
right? We have to remember that what we are doing, we're doing it for ourselves. We're doing it
mm,
for our health, right?
yeah.
And of course, it'll be easier to do it with friends and people that you love,
Mhm.
but they may not always understand because people don't understand unless they go through it, unless they're experiencing it. They may love you very much, but they can't grasp it because they're not
Yes,
experiencing
that's true.
it. So I would say the best thing to do is to do what's best for you, right? You can be vocal with people that you care about and letting them know and explaining things how you feel, but you can't let that. I've been there and I've let this happen. You can't let what they say deter you from where you're going, because if
Mm,
that happens, then you'll never get there, right? So
right.
I would say to stay in, to keep the people you love informed, right? But to have a sound mind, like this is what I'm going to do because this is best for
Mm,
me and it's best for my health. And that has helped me. I know everyone has a different story, but that has really been best for me. And now my friends and family are all on board. They're like, oh, Anita's going to take care of herself. She got this. We're going to support her. But before, it was just like, no, have this, just like Terrell was saying, they want to push this on you. Like the food, oh, you
yeah.
have to have this cake. Uh-oh, something fell. Every time I talk, I get passionate, something fall. Um, but yeah, that's shaking the room, literally, y'all. That is
That's
shaking the
right.
Mhm.
room.
That's right. Preach, girl, preach.
Yeah. But just like they think that the whatever it is, it can be food, it can be anything, and they think they're caring for you because that's how we express love, right? That's how we
Mm,
do it through food. But you're like, hey,
Mhm.
I found something that works for me a little bit better. Trust me, y'all see the results. So that worked for me. So I'll end there.
nice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Coach Terrell.
I would say advocating and supporting is, yeah, having a group of people that really see you. Because a lot of
Mm,
times I feel with autoimmune, we feel invisible. We feel nobody cares,
yeah.
nobody's really looking out for us. So being seen, being heard, using your voice, I had to really learn to be seen
Mm,
and to be heard and use my voice. I was very timid about it. I wouldn't really talk about it that much. And then when I got more comfortable, and being 100 pounds overweight, people see that, they see that, but they don't see the lupus. They see the 100 pounds, right? And then you're
right.
getting comments about it. And then I had to recognize for myself in order to heal myself, to reverse this. Terrell had to start with the person in the mirror. You're pointing, but those three fingers are pointing back at you to start and get started. So I had
Yeah.
to stop comparing, you know, comparing myself to other people and what society says a Black woman should be, or what a woman um, that's dealing with the situation I'm dealing with, quote unquote, supposed to be. Terrell has to
Mm,
be the best version of herself. And I
right.
had to vocalize that. I had to, I would write a lot. I still do. I journal every day, and that helps me get through certain tough times for myself. It gives me an opportunity for the intent of the day and how I can serve my clients or someone else that might be not dealing with their situation of their health in a way that they need to. So I would
Mhm,
say stop comparing yourself, sister. You know, go out there, be heard, be seen, feel seen, and
mhm.
voice exactly how you feel to your supporting inner circle. Because when we do that, then that's a ripple effect, right? Because when you're
Definitely.
healthy and doing what you need for yourself and your family, then everybody else is like, "Ooh, well, yeah, that sounds good. That's fine. Maybe I could do that for my kids too." You just never know who's going to join on the bandwagon. So that's what I would share with you today. So thanks so much for
Wow.
having us here. I love this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And this, I think Rosadella, she'll pop back in, but Dr. Jones, I know it's getting
Uh,
late. It's getting late, but yeah,
yes.
what would you say? I know
Well,
that you,
I would go on.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead. It was just
You can
delaying.
hear.
You're fine.
Okay. I would say being worthy, that recognizing that we are worthy
Mm,
translates. You don't have to tell me anything else, because when I'm worthy, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to take care of my
yeah.
business. We have to watch
That's
out
right.
because we're still used to having to take care of our business and everybody else's business too, which
Mhm,
also
mhm.
makes that reputation makes it very difficult to ask for help. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
that
true.
was the hardest thing, and my hardest lesson was to learn to ask for help. Um,
Mm,
it was painful, it was uncomfortable. I don't know what that issue was, especially when you're used to taking care of, you used to take care of your family. I had 2,000 patients. You used to taking care of somebody. It was
mhm.
just, I couldn't receive things. People would come up to me, Dr. Jones, I'll give you my kidney. I'm thinking, wow, they would say, you would do that? I got 4 sets of house keys given to me. I'll take
Mm,
care of you. The vice president
wow.
hospital went up to my daughter's little apartment and scrubbed the baseboards because I had to be somewhere sterile. I mean, things
Mm,
like that to this day still, I should be just flowing with gratefulness and joy. Maybe because I feel like I can't pay it back, or I just, it's an uncomfortable space for us because that's not
yes.
where we live most of the time. But we do need to
Mhm.
learn how to do that. And it's nice when other people even just validate us, not give us anything or do anything like, girl, I know you got lupus, so, or whatever. So I did this way. Or, I made you bed, but give you my room because it's not by the stairs. Just validation. It's like, you believe me, you can see this
Yeah,
unseen thing. And
that's
so
huge.
that it is huge. And just being there for somebody. I'm going to say that as a physician. When I also have been a hospice director and did palliative care, so end of life care, and sometimes you're just helpless. And I always tell
Mm,
people, you're not going to go through this by yourself. I can't go through your private journey with you because that's something between you and whatever. But I
mm,
am not going to be gone. Just
mm.
being there for you is a lot, and sometimes
It's
you need a
huge.
little more.
Right.
And even if you just say to other people, who's going to tell you no? Can you just be there for me? Or kind of try to understand, try, even if they can't, that
Right.
I have this long-term disease. You can ask for that, and I can't think of anybody that would disappoint. Except I had one
Mm,
son who wouldn't come see me in the hospital for 8 months, and I thought we
mm.
got along good. He's in his 20s at that time, and it turned out I found out as a mother that he don't do hospitals. He can't. He just was petrified. But I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
it's
he did what
very.
he would do.
Mhm.
So, ladies, it really has been a pleasure, and I think I can tell that this life works is more than a than something you ran into, more like a calling and certainly a passion. And I call other people that are listening to this to also be part of the messengers, and don't think you can't say something. It could just be, I saw this program the other day. It was pretty good. Maybe I can get you a copy of it, or maybe we ought to, we have a cousin who has that kind of rash. I don't know for sure. You don't have to be a scientist. I don't know, but maybe they should go to the doctor and check it out. Audience, you even do that. Or even if you have more questions, contact V again. Like, I wanted to know more about, because every time we touch, it should have a ripple effect. And I'm putting that pressure on because there is an absence. I started talking about healthcare, healthcare that's disparities, where there's uneven outcomes. We went to the doctor too. We paid some money to it, where our outcome is worse. Well, somebody's got to balance that out. Really, the people that have the main problem do, but we have to do something, because, we're at the bottom. We're not low, we're at the bottom. So we'll have to do extra. We must.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Jones. And Rosadella, if you could tell us how well, you heard the question earlier. I just didn't want to make sure I mixed you up, but just how we can empower others to advocate for themselves.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is you don't have to be as vocal as other patient advocates that you might see. You can come to someone who you see being vocal and just ask them questions like, what, I've been experiencing XYZ symptoms. What do you think? And I'm not a medical professional, so what I tell people is always to, if you go to a doctor and they tell you or dismiss it, then you are free to go to another doctor, even if you have Medi-Cal, or if if you feel within your gut that you have something that's deeper than what a doctor is telling you. They are not the final say so, because sometimes there are doctors out there who just haven't been educated on different autoimmune diseases. So sometimes you do have to go to other sources to try to, find what is wrong, because sometimes we know our bodies better than ourselves. I can't tell the next person, what they should do. So I always would like to advocate, because by telling people, you know yourself, know that you may be having a bad day, but you're not bad. You are not a bad person. You are not, your worth is not held in what disease you have. You may be having, you can have every autoimmune disease in the book, but you are still valuable. So we have to take care of ourselves. We have to speak up for ourselves. Your family members, there will be people who you love more than life itself, who will doubt you, who may put you down, who may not believe your symptoms. But just know that, there are others out there who are experiencing the same symptoms, who are experiencing diseases, and just speak up for yourself. Be informed for your own self, so that you can share with your family members, with your loved ones, with someone at your job. Your boss is like, why are you always calling out? I have XYZ autoimmune disease. I'm very capable of this job, but I will have bad days. And sometimes, what, they will actually be okay with that. They will understand. And if they don't, your job is not always going to support you. So I can't speak for every situation, but sometimes just you have to speak for yourself. You have to, because if you don't, you could stress yourself out into a flare up. So just speak on yourself, speak on your emotions. Don't bottle these things up. Speak about with your family, inform your family, inform even just your close circle. And majority of the time, the people that are in your close circle, you do that, and you will find out who is really your good friend, and they will support you because they love you. I mean, my own a real quick personal story. The man I'm with right now, I always tell him I knew he was the one, because after our first conversation, I mentioned, I have lupus. And our second conversation, he said, I looked it up and wow, I can't believe this. Like,
That's
that
important.
alone,
That right
there
there.
are people, exactly. There are people out there that will, if they don't know, they will make the effort to know.
Very true. That's very true. And then you did mention about notifying your job. And so, as some people know, I work in HR. And so it's very important to notify your job, and they should be proactive. But if they're not, you can inquire about getting FMLA and making sure
Yes.
that you put that, have your doctor fill out the form. So then you can either, you don't have to go on a leave for the whole 12 weeks. You can get intermittent leave. Maybe you may have to miss a day, one day during the week to go to a doctor's appointment. You'll call in and say, hey, I want to use FMLA time, today. And that's the intermittent, family leave or family medical leave act. Right. And so that would approve you if you were, with your company for a year and worked over 1,250 hours. Then you most likely should be eligible for that leave. And then if you're in certain states, then you can get paid, through your state, as well as like short-term disability. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because so many times, even with me being in that field, I talked to so many employees who are out in the field, and they don't remember anything from their orientation. And they think about HR, they're like, I don't want to call HR. Like, they hire and fire you. I'm here.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to get fired. So, very important, very important. But
I do want to add that for people that are wondering, well, shoot, now that I've heard this, do I have it, or this person I know, they might have it. If you go and you meet up with a provider that is, blowing you off, again, because we present well and are articulate and you can't point to it, you might want to say, you have to be careful, because physicians do not like to be told what to do. I'm just doing a stereotypic egotistical thing. But as far as taking tests and things, we always want to score high. So if you say, well, okay, but so you're saying I can't possibly have this? You're saying I can't possibly have it? Can we get like the antibody test? And I heard there was a test, and you can't be too, I hate to sound too informed. That's sad. That's sad. But it's an ANA. I heard there's a blood test. Can I just take the blood test to just reassure? And I know I probably don't have it maybe, but I just really need to close the chapter on that so I can focus on whatever else it might be. And so there's a way to coax a test out of us. Oh my God, don't pass this tape around. I'm just saying. And I'm not saying it for people that are playing and want to find a disease so they can have support. I'm talking about, I'm really concerned somebody's blowing me off. Well, they might be compelled by, forget us trying to prove I do have it. Can we make sure I don't have it? Can you, or if you can't do it today, can we add it on my next blood test if I remind you? These are like, these should work. It's not a game, it's just a system.
Well, you're so right. Thank you so much, Dr. Jones. And so really quickly, just real quick, if you can spit out your social media, Ms. Coach Anita, you first, and we're going to just kind of go around because we're getting ready to close out. And so
I am all things the autoimmune bully, right? So my YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, everything is easy. The autoimmune bully, you'll look it up, you'll see my face. V, I wanted to thank you for putting this super powerful panel together. It was amazing. And I just wanted to leave everyone with this. My panel, anyone that's watching us, right? We've been assigned this mountain to show other people that it can be moved, right? And it's a hard pill to swallow, but once you swallow it, you be like, I can do this. And you ladies empowered me just speaking today. So I just wanted to thank you all for sharing, and thank you, V, for putting it all together.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. And Coach Terrell.
Yes, you can find me everything with my name, some kind of way. My name is in something, so it's Terrell Sally Holloman on Facebook and LinkedIn. Instagram is Terrell underscore LLYW. Clubhouse is Mrs. T Sally. So you can find me everywhere that way. So this has definitely been an intriguing conversation. We need to have this more often. I am
Yeah.
definitely excited of being on your platform. I love all of you ladies because we're all out there doing what we need to do to help ourselves first so that we can help other people,
Mm.
get healthy and be vibrant and be better versions of themselves. So thank you so much. I love
Yes,
this.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We'll have to dive in. I'll probably have to have you back so we can dive in about this weight loss and eating for your blood type, because I
Yes,
know a lot of people are
absolutely.
interested in that. And Miss Rosadella, if you could share with us how to find you, how people can get in contact with you.
Yes, I am definitely one of those interested, Terrell. So yes. Well, you can find me all social media platforms. I am under She's Got Lupus, and my website, she's got lupus.com. You can actually find the link to register for my monthly lupus support group that's ran through the Lupus Foundation of Southern California.
Mhm.
And even though it says Chula Vista, all are welcome. Please join. But that's the majority, and I am so grateful to be a part of this platform. It's
Yeah.
if our viewers didn't walk away feeling, empowered, I most definitely did. It's
Yes.
very encouraging to hear other strong women speaking about the mountains we've overcame and still standing strong and being able to share our story and bring courage to others to speak on their own battles.
Thank you so much. And Dr. Jones, last but not least, how can they find you if they just want to get some
Wow.
advice? Or I know you're not practicing, so
You know what? I listed, yeah, since I'm retired, I just kind of listed that they can contact you and we'll figure something out. I don't know if
okay,
that's possible or okay, but
definitely,
I get phone
definitely.
calls. I get phone calls from other countries and people just say, I heard you could help me. So it's not, I'm pushing 64, so I'm not all hooked up on all these new fandangled things. So all I can say is just word of mouth. But I
Yeah.
too was immensely blessed. You made Easter really special for me because it's so nice whether we see each other again, knowing that we're all out there. And so it makes us feel like we have a community without walls. And that's good because, you get to be a weary warrior when you feel like you're doing some of these things by yourself. Thank you
Oh,
again.
thank you so much.
And
No, that's
you can
true.
call me. You can call me for anything.
I know, because I had moved all over the country, in Georgia, Texas, and I'm like, Dr. Jones, this doctor said XYZ. I don't believe him though. I don't feel good about it. And I didn't like the way they said it to me. And she's like, well, let me break it.
You
She
know
breaks
what?
it down for me. I'm like, okay, I feel better about that. She's like, you were wrong.
You
But
know
maybe
what?
do
I
X, Y,
am.
Z.
She makes me not feel retired.
So I'm gonna call Dr. Jones. It's like I know I got two doctors here, but I'm gonna call her. So, well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I really appreciate you, ladies. I think that you all are dynamic, and that's why I wanted you on the show because I knew that you could speak life into the audience and to people who are going to check the show out later and just inspire them and encourage them. So I thank you so much for spending your Resurrection Sunday with me in the HBCU Lounge Network community and virtual first dates community. So thank you so much for being here. And everyone have a great night. And we'll be back here in a few weeks in May, taking a few weeks
Thank
of break. So
you.
we'll be back.
Good.
But thank
You
you
deserve
and good night.